All right. So we are back here again, and we are talking about the recent news that happened with a company called Anthropic, and they are a company that makes the Claude uh, series of AI. And basically, this is something that I had previously predicted would happen and has now come to pass. And that is that the release of a model caught the attention of a government, and they moved in to block the release of it. So this is what has previously happened here, and they've since lifted the block. To be clear, it was temporary, but it does set a precedent for the first time that this has happened with one of the major frontier models and with a major government, in this case, the American government, coming in and saying, like, nope, this is not okay, more or less, right? So I would expect actually this sort of thing to continue into the future, but maybe in a slightly different way than what we just saw there. I don't necessarily think that is going to be a knee jerk reaction in the future, but rather something that happens more before the releases actually take place. So, for example, sort of happening concurrently with this, Google was supposed to release their Gemini 3.5 Pro model in June, right around the same time that Anthropic released their new model. And that release has been delayed into mid July. Um, and I would say that probably the reason for that may well have been, since if I'm looking sort of at the past releases and the way things have been going, the Google Gemini Pro models have been more or less meeting the other labs' benchmarks after they're released. So if it's the case that the new 3.5 Pro model is on par with Anthropic's Fable model, then I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was some non-public sort of discussions about the release date of that and maybe them wanting some additional time to like sanitize it, I guess, or whatever you want to call that process. Add in additional guardrails, nerf it a bit, um, you know, just have more time for it to be reviewed, um, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this process happens going forward. Again, my guess is that there will be less public visibility. I don't think we'll have this sort of situation again where something gets released and then taken back. If anything, that was like great marketing for Anthropic still. They're like, oh, look, our model's so good, the government doesn't want you to have it still, right? So, I'm sure they're not like too displeased about that, how that whole process went. But it's been pretty interesting. I mean, there has been a lot of back and forth, especially with Anthropic and the US government. Um, they have had some tiffs here and there. But there is a lot of other things happening besides them. So I think the other big news that happened recently is Cursor, which is a platform that I've been using since it got released, basically still. I was one of their first users. It got bought by SpaceX for $60 billion. So they actually had an option on that previously where they could have paid 10 billion and walked away from the deal, but they pulled the trigger on that. And that's actually part of XAI going into SpaceX now and that whole thing. So there's some pretty interesting things with that because Cursor has got to have a great data set in terms of having collected data from all these different software developers who have been using the platform, in real world work, right? So that's an incredibly valuable data set that they have just by itself. I mean, it's hard to put numbers on these things, but I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of the valuation is coming from that data set, which you have to remember is really big. Like it's a really big, really high value data set. And then obviously the other part of it is going to be the actual development work that's gone into building the Cursor system, their harnesses, their agentic orchestration software. and the actual people at the company, right? And they're, acquiring their knowledge, um, and their sort of their expertise around the area. So I think that's a good move overall for them, because XAI, they have the resources in terms of the compute hardware, and the funding and things like that. They are not wanting for the actual physical capabilities that are needed to compete at a high level, right? Um, but it was sort of the other side. It was the how do they make the magic potion, more or less. So they bought a bunch of wizards, and they're going to come in and help them out. And I think that'll work out well for everyone. Though some people are concerned about Cursor's sort of one of their selling points has been the fact that they are model agnostic and you're able to switch between lots of different models. I actually don't think that that's going to change. Um, I think they'll continue to use multiple models in the software. I'd be surprised if they tried to isolate that down to only Grok. I'm sure that um, they will want to use Grok more, and they'll probably might highlight it, especially once it can demonstrate in benchmarks that it is really competing at a high level with all the other frontier models. But I don't think that they would. I don't think they would stop supporting multiple models, because I think that would hurt their user base too much in terms of like alienating them. Speaking of aliens, I saw a cool documentary about aliens. Um, there's lots of crazy alien UFO type of stuff that's out there these days. Definitely an interesting subject to be looking into over the past 5, 6, 7 years. Compared to like when I was a kid, right? Um, like in the '90s, it was kind of like a joke, right? Like we had like the X Files, which is it's just like, oh, it's fiction, it's pure fiction, right? But who knows? All kinds of crazy stuff there. Anyways, I've completely digressed. Back into AI. So I think what's going to be happening next here is we're going to look at. Uh, I think software is going to continue to lead the way in terms of utility. Now, the stack that I'm working with right now is I'm using OpenCode and another agent framework called My Open Agent, and I've been pretty happy using that for the past 4 or 5 months. It's also again model agnostic, so you can plug whatever you want into it. Um, but that being said, I'm looking at a few other ones that are, I guess, I want to scale it out more. So I've been working on my own model harness that is like acting as a manager or like a master agent for OpenCode, where it can sort of be working on multiple projects and trying to replace sort of my own position in terms of where I'm curating sort of the direction that the agent is going, and telling it, kind of like what to do and how to do things, giving it feedback. Because I'm finding that I am probably 60 to 70% of the time saying kind of the same things in terms of my interactions with the agent. And then it's really only 30, 40% of the time that I'm having to do something like unique or that is requiring like any significant amount of thinking or or tasteful decisions that would go against sort of the defaults of what the agents would have gone ahead with, which is still significant. I mean, like, if you think about those types of decisions, they compound, and it's kind of like if you're sending a projectile in space really far and you're off by 1 degree. Well, you think, oh, it's just 1 degree, right? Well, actually, over like a million miles or whatever, you'll completely miss it, right? So it's the same kind of thing in terms of these compound effects, right? You have to make sure that you make those earlier decisions correctly, or else it'll compound into significant problems later. But that being said, I mean, if I can automate 60 to 70% of my interactions with the agent orchestration team, that's a pretty big win at that point. Um, Especially since I have so many different projects and I'm running in parallel, right? And I want, the other thing is to have these development environments running in the cloud rather than on my local machine, which is kind of like a really, this these cloud development environments, they exist, right? I mean, they existed a long time actually in CI/CD pipelines, but we're seeing this more and more, and yeah, this is something that does not necessarily come naturally to me. I've been working in software for, coming on 19 years at this point, and a lot of that it's just always been, you have a local development environment, right? So it's a weird sort of transition period. I think a lot of developers are going through this, um, and not everyone's going to probably make it out to the other side, frankly. There's going to be people who are, able to adapt to the changes, and some people might not. And frankly, it remains to be seen. I don't necessarily know if I'll be that guy at the end of the game. But I'll just keep playing to play, or I'll keep play to keep playing kind of thing, and for the love of the game, right? um, I think I have it pretty lucky still because I've always been very interested in building and managing the project as well too. I know the guys who have been all really enjoying like going deep and like solving small problems, or do like a lot of the stuff that has been automated. There were people who really enjoyed doing that process, right? Um, I didn't always enjoy that part that much still. I enjoyed more the conception and design, and then like kind of seeing the end product, and I mean going through there's definitely satisfaction that you got going through building it. Um, but it's been cool to sort of like be able to build more, build faster, build better things, than I could have on my own, that's for sure. Um, so yeah, I mean, so a few of the projects that got going on, doing a project for a film studio to do AI data ingestion for, just like they have a multi-terabyte library of still photos and documents. Um, we've got another project that is a medical project, and this is about a few different sort of systems. Part of it is like digital simulation. Part of it is automating research. Part of it is building out robotic surgery systems and implant designs. So spending the next few years be working just on all the digital versions of that, and then eventually bringing that into the real world with the prototypes for the implants and the actual robotic surgery mechanisms and things like that. I've been working on a education app that I designed for uh, for kids and their parents to sort of make learning more fun. Not necessarily the most super original thing. There are definitely other things out there, but I've taken my own twist on it and my own ideas, and I think it's fun to do that. Um, because I have opinions on that too, which I will not get into right away. I've been working on a music app. So this is I actually came pretty late into AI and music because I really like music is one of my long time passions, right? So I can play the guitar and piano and the drums, and I write music and sing, and I can do mixing and mastering. And it was actually the only post-secondary education I ever got was for music technology, for audio engineering and production. So yeah, I've been starting work on an app that integrates with digital audio workstation, um, and other AI tools, and sort of bridges the gap between those and acts like project management system slash like collaborative sort of audio engineer, collaborative songwriter. The idea is not to actually have it just automatically create full songs, but to actually sort of help you with the process of creating your own ideas faster, and then also linking up to AI video generation and creating music videos. Um, for it still. So that is another one of the things I've been working on. I've also got a few products that I'm going to be launching soon in terms of sort of AI learning, like AI education. So one of them is an AI safety and security platform. And this is a 10 module certificate program where you go in and learn basically everything that I can think of that you would need to understand for AI safety and security compliance in like an enterprise sort of workplace environment. So there are a bunch of different sort of government initiatives like the EU AI Act, and there's a ISO 42001, um, a few other things like that, the National Institute standards. These uh, these different sort of compliance frameworks that that plus all the stuff that I've come up with in terms of my own research and development in the area of AI, things like red teaming, um, and being able to sort of test for safety, test that guardrails are working, test for data compliance and safety. So all of that information sort of bundled into a certificate course, and I've also created several sort of tools and a library of sort of helpful documents and things like that. Checklist systems and auditing systems and things like that that will help people to really stay on top of this. And this again, this is more for like an enterprise environment, not necessarily for small businesses. So I mean, it could be used for that as well too, depending on the use case. Um, then I'm also going to be doing an in-person sort of micro incubator uh, with students who are graduating from computer science classes, uh, and then they haven't yet entered the workforce. So this is sort of like it's a bridge course between those two to help prepare them for what is actually expected in modern software development, because I think that the stuff that they're learning in university, based on my experiences interacting with these students and looking at their curriculum details, and then what is actually expected in modern software development, there's definitely a gap. So the incubator is a 4-week course where they come in and they give them access to all kinds of cool AI tools and stuff that they're able to experiment with, and also working in the cloud, and then to sort of teach them like how modern software project management works, how to actually work with teams of agents, go beyond. I mean, these are kids that are copy pasting from ChatGPT at this point still, so they haven't necessarily been working with modern orchestration tools and understanding how agents and Git work together, and we'll get into all that. So to help them sort of bridge the gap between their computer science degrees and actually doing modern software development. So I'm pretty excited about that. We'll be starting that towards the end of the month. And gosh, I mean, I probably got 3 or 4 other things that are kicking around. It's pretty crazy, the amount of different things that you know these uh, these side project ideas and stuff, um, or even like what you would call main projects. Really, just able to do a lot more faster. So I keep pushing myself to try and you know find new ways to run things in parallel. And I think that's one of the things I'll be working on over the summer, is you know um, finding ways to run all of these like parallel development environments in the cloud and have sort of master orchestration tools handling multiple teams of AI software development agents. And yeah, we'll see where that goes anyway. So should be a good should be a good summer here, and yeah, we'll catch up with more news soon.